Hello everybody and welcome to the Dream Team Tonic podcast, where we talk all things Dream Team, helping you to win your mini leagues. Before we start, hit that like button, hit that subscribe and notch the bell. Make sure you get notified every time a new podcast lands. If you do want more content or just to show your support for the Dream Team Tonic lads, head over to patreon.com/Dream Team Tonic. The link is in the description below. We offer access to an amazing Discord, exclusive articles, fixture easies, live question and answers and much more, all to help you improve you as a Dream Team manager. Without further ado, I hand you over to me, Tony, for today's podcast. Enjoy and thanks for your support.
Welcome to the Dream Team Tonic podcast. I'm your host, James. Unfortunately, Tony can't be with us this week, but as usual, we have Ben. Are you there, Ben?
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Good, thanks. And as it's our transfer special, we have our special guest, Fergi. Are you there, Fergi?
I am, James. Great to be on again.
Cool. Pleased to have you, mate. Right. So we, as tradition, shall we start with your team, Fergi? How are you getting on?
Yeah, I haven't. Hang on, I'll check my updated overall rank now. But I think last time I was on, I was 340k at World Cup. I think last time I came on, I was about 89k or something along those lines, which I was really pleased with. And I am pleased to report, following today's final, I'm now up to 31k. Which is nothing to shout about in terms of the overall rankings, I suppose. But I'm really, really pleased in terms of because I had an absolute nightmare pre-World Cup, but definitely pulled it back. Man United in the main have done me proud. As much as I hate to say it, they've done really, really well. I took the plunge and went all in on them. I've had like 8 or 9 players for ages, and they've kept on going. So 31k. Just in terms of my actual team, I've got De Gea in goals. I've got Shaw and Martinez. I've had Shaw and De Gea for ages now. I have got Rico Lewis, who's a bit of a weird one, but I made a couple of boo-boos transfer-wise a couple of weeks ago when I brought in Anthony and Wan-Bissaka on the weekend where Anthony got injured and Wan-Bissaka suddenly found himself dropped. So I decided to make a couple of changes there. And I brought in De Bruyne, and Lewis was the only one I could afford. Lewis hasn't scored any points, but strangely enough, if you'd have gone with kind of any other defender apart from a United defender, you'd be in minus points anyway. So Lewis is 0. It's not actually the end of the world because I don't think that City have kept a clean sheet, for goodness how long, and Arsenal have been conceding in most games and things. So Lewis is 0 is not too bad. So I got De Bruyne, Bruno, Mahrez, who's the archetypal up and down player. He either hauls or he gets absolutely zip. And Saka was another nice move. And then Rashford, Haaland and Kane. So I used all my transfers a couple of weeks ago due to the Anthony and Wan-Bissaka thing, which, as it happens, they've done well in the last week or two, but obviously wanted to know that. But really pleased how I'm going into next month as well with my United contingent, especially after the Cup win today. I think they're going to be on a flyer. They've really got the burners up their arse, and I think they're going to really fly in March. So I'm pretty excited to have what we got 5 Man United players and probably bring a few more in, to be honest. So okay season.
Have you got any transfers earmarked for the new allocation?
I'll definitely be looking. I think the 2 teams I'm looking at, not wanting to jump ahead, obviously, but the 2 teams I'm looking at for March are Man United again. They are away to Liverpool on the weekend, which isn't the best game. But after that, they've obviously got the Europa League game against Real Betis, which would be nice. Sandwiched in between that is a Southampton game, and after that, Brighton, Newcastle, Brentford, and even going into April then as well is pretty good. So I quite like United. Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, maybe Varane, maybe Casemiro, those sorts of players, potentially even Anthony again. And Arsenal have drawn Sporting Lisbon. They've got really good Premier League fixtures as well going into March. Home to Bournemouth, away to Fulham, home to Palace, home to Leeds, with those sporting fixtures in between. So they're definitely the 2 teams I'm looking at. I've already got, I think, 6 in total from those teams. I've got a few City players as well who do have a tough opening weekend home to Newcastle, and then a blank at the moment midweek. But they're the teams at the moment I'm looking at. Liverpool obviously are very likely to go out of the Champions League, so I'm not interested in any of their players. So yeah, Arsenal and United, I think, for me, are my teams to target in March.
Okay, cool. Just a quick update on Tony's team. He got 38 points this week in his podcast team. Ben, how did you get on?
51 points so far. I've got 4 United at the back. I've got De Gea for 4 points, Shaw 10, Martinez 7, Wan-Bissaka 8 off the bench. Fernandes got 3. Then I got Mahrez blanked, come on for a couple of minutes, but usually rested for the Champions League, isn't he? When it comes to this part of the season. So happy to keep him for now. De Bruyne blanked, he didn't play. Saka, nil point. Didn't think he got a goal chalked off, didn't he?
He did.
For offside. I brought Saka in this week as well. I had Ake, and on Thursday night I was like, do I just keep Ake because of them fixtures, Bournemouth and Bristol City, or do I go Saka because he's on fire? So I decided just to wait a little bit longer. I didn't go for the price rise. Didn't need to. I think I had quite a bit of money in the bank. So I ended up getting to Saturday, and then when I saw that Saka was in the lineup, I just thought, well, I've got to get him in because I just feel he's on fire at the minute, and he goes and blanks. But yeah, but Ake didn't get a clean sheet again, so yeah, 3 points he got though for a 7 rating, so not too bad at the minute. Rashford 3 points, Haaland 8, Kane 8. So this team is now 9k overall. It's gone up 6k. My best team is 357th now.
Nice.
So 60 points off the top 100.
Cool, nice one. So my team is identical to yours, apart from one change. I did the Saka move on Thursday for price swings. But I because I had a couple of transfers left, I decided in my wisdom when I saw the United lineup to switch Wan-Bissaka to Dalot, and my reasoning behind that was I thought Dalot had potentially a higher ceiling, and if you look at his stats before his injury, he was getting some decent hauls, whereas Wan-Bissaka, you're pretty much you're not going to get. You're just looking at bonus and clean sheet points. Very unlikely to get a goal or an assist. So that was my thinking. That cost me 4 points, I think. So I would have had exactly the same as you, Ben. So I won't run through my team. But yeah, I'm now sort of thinking that move wasn't as wise as it could have been. But we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. I do think Dalot has a higher ceiling, but
Definitely, yeah.
I'm sure Wan-Bissaka's going to get plenty of minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a bad shout at all. It's just that I had transfers to burn. Cool. Okay. On to the listener questions then. What I've done is I've wrapped up. We had a lot of questions about defensive blocks, whether we should go with a mixture of defenders, etc. So what I've done is I've grouped those all into one sort of theme. We had questions from Ash, Mav, Wadey, and NC. They all asked similar questions. So rather than read them all out and repeat ourselves, I've gone for the catch-all question of best block for March, or should we go for a mixture of defenders? What do you think, Fergie?
Yeah, I'm looking at I never thought I'd say it, but I think City defence looks to be in a void for a couple of reasons. One, you don't know who's going to play, and two, they just keep conceding. They just, they just keep conceding every game. They make some horrible mistakes. Like the amount of times this season they've been caught tippy-tapping around the back, or their false centre back or wherever they play has stepped out and they found a gap, like Ollie Watkins did the other day for Villa and things. It's just unbelievable. So I think City, for me, are in a void. They also have some toughish games and a couple of blanks in March as well. So I won't be going for that. I won't go for Liverpool either because they just can't defend this season. Chelsea can't defend this season. which seems astonishing to say because they're the three go-to defences for the last however many seasons of Dream Team, haven't they? I think the ones I'm looking at United earlier, I still think they're pretty good. I think I think they've got some really good options. I like the fact they've got lots of fixtures because for me it does mean that Dallo and Wan-Bissaka will probably get some bench clean sheet points as well. So I'm definitely looking to bring in probably one or even a couple of those, like because they're playing every 3 days. You're definitely going to get one of them, and you may get two. I'm still not convinced them defensively, but I think with the the fixtures they've got, I think it's pretty good. And Arsenal again, I think they've only kept one clean sheet in the last 4 in the league. It's just so many goals this season, isn't there? Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, maybe White, maybe Ramsdale. As everyone knows, I'm a quantity of fixtures person. That's the first thing I look for, and then look on top of that for the kind of quality of fixtures, and they're the two that stand out. So, in summary, I think that those who are on Man United's defence, I would probably look to hold them, see how they go. Then you've got the option of going to other United defenders, going to Arsenal. I know there's quite a lot of people who've got Newcastle defenders. I would personally be moving off those. First game back away to Man City, no double either. I'd just be coming off. I know they've been magnificent this season, and they have. It may have just caught up with them a little bit. They're not in any cups and all this stuff, so I get rid of those personally. So I would probably look to split between maybe Arsenal and Man United. You could chuck in some rogue West Ham one for some, potential clean sheets. I think they got, is it AEK? Is that Athens, I'm assuming, is it? In the Europa League, starting in a couple of weeks' time. So maybe then, but yeah, I think United and Arsenal are the two, again, are the two I'd go for. I would probably also go only 3 at the back, though, I would say, or because there's just a massive lack of clean sheets this season.
Yeah. I think the only reason West Ham are in the conversation is because they've got 7 fixtures this month. But
exactly,
would take a brave man to go there, I think, when you've got United and Arsenal options. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, just quickly that AEK fixtures. It's Larnaca from Cyprus, so it's even better.
Oh, even better. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Fergie covered that brilliantly. Definitely, Man United. If you've got them, stay on them. I'm pretty much all Man United. Arsenal, well, like I pointed out last week, they've got very good fixtures coming up, and like Fergie said, they haven't been very good defensively lately, but the fixtures are so good that they could go on a good run of clean sheets now. They've just started with a clean sheet this weekend as well against Leicester. They've got their full strength defence now as well, with Zinchenko starting to play a lot of games now. City definitely avoid now. I think they've got 5 possible games in March. I think they should beat Bristol City, so it should be 5 games. Trent maybe if you want a bit of a wild card pick, but the Liverpool fixtures are not as good as Man United's and Arsenal's. So yeah, but Chelsea's fixtures are okay, but I'd only pick one, maybe James, but they're not very solid, are they? Chelsea at the moment, they're looking awful. You must have watched the game today, Fergie.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. How did they look? I didn't watch the game.
Just the same as they always look. Just really underwhelming, I think. And like Spurs have improved, especially at home. I went down last week to watch Spurs and West Ham, and they were okay, but Spurs are not exactly firing on all cylinders either, and they won. I wouldn't say comfortably, but a 2-0 win either way is a pretty comfortable win. So I just can't get interested with them, and they might keep a clean sheet against Leeds. I don't know, but Leicester, I fancy Leicester to score against them. Madison will likely be back as well. I think they'll concede in Champions League. I just can't get excited for them. And again, it's a similar thing. Is I wouldn't really know who to choose because everyone's been saying like Badia Shields nailed for the Premier League, but
Yeah.
he didn't play today. So like Silva is the only one who's probably nailed, and he went off injured today. So you just don't even know who's going to play really.
And
I just avoid.
Fofana came on, didn't he, instead of Badia Sheila? Yeah. James didn't play last week either, did he? He got rested. So
He got rested. I don't know how bad is this. This is how much I haven't looked at this year. I don't even know how much Reece James is, but I'm assuming he's not.
He's very
cheap.
dear, 5.7. So yeah, because you don't really want a player that's going to get rotated at 5.7. Like we were saying before, Man City defenders. If you've got one at 3.5 or something, it's not too bad. Like Ake, but you don't. There's so many better defenders at the moment, especially with Arsenal now having these fixtures. There's better options of other places.
He's got 58 points for the season. I know he's been injured for part of it, but not all of it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, what do you think, James?
I think you guys have nailed it there. I'm going to be sticking with with my United blocks. With some of my lower downsides, I think Arsenal could provide a really good differential option, but that's a bit of a gamble for those sides that are a bit lower, I think.
Yeah.
And I'll be keeping a close eye on it because Arsenal do have some decent fixtures, and if they can put together a run of clean sheets, they could also be an option and certainly a differential for anyone who's chasing.
What do you think then? So it says there, should we go for a block or should we go for a mixture of a few different defenders? I'm thinking blocks if you want to make massive gains.
I think if you want to make massive gains, you've got to go for Arsenal block, haven't you? Because a lot of the top teams have got United blocks. So even if you go all United and they do keep clean sheets, you're not going to make gains. So I think the shit or best option is probably go all in on Arsenal, hope United concede, and Arsenal can keep a few. If you say 100 or 150 points in behind in the mini league. But yeah, everyone will be going on it. Like in on United, even now their players are still cheap. So Wan-Bissaka is 3.6, Dalot is 4, Casemiro midfield is 3.2, Varane is 3.5. They're not even hard to get to, are they? Like when you got your Trippiers and 6.5, Reece James 5.7, and all this stuff, they're easy downgrades, aren't they, to those sorts of players as well? So I think if you're looking to chase and you're just thinking, right, I've got to do something or I'm gone. Ben White is 4.1, Gabriel 3.6, Zinchenko 3.6, Salah 2.7. Still, they're all affordable.
Yeah.
Well, that leads us nicely into the Honey Badgers question, which is best defensive options for 4.5 and less. I'm sure we've mentioned some of those already. He's already got Shaw and Dalot. Who would your top two options be for the 4.5 and less, Ben?
Well, it depends what he's doing in his mini league. Like, if he's like at the top of the league and he's already got Shaw and Dalot, I'd probably just go for Martinez and make it free. But I don't know actually. Yeah, I'd bring Martinez in his 4.5 Martinez. He'd be my pick.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Fergie? What would your top two picks be? 4.5 and less.
Yeah, I think just look at the top of the average points. Wan-Bissaka at 3.6 is far and away the highest. He averages 4.5 points per game. And if you think the vast majority of other United players, obviously Rashford aside, all average 3 and 2 and under, I'd say he's probably my favourite pick. I'd probably go for him and Dalot. I know it sounds a bit counterproductive, but Dalot is the second highest in terms of average points in terms of 4. It's because they're both of them are so attacking, right?
Yeah.
You know they're going to play, or at least one of them is going to play, and hopefully both of them will play nearly every game as well. So I go for those two personally. I think it's a bit of attacking upside there as well.
Yeah, I had if I was going to, well, obviously Martinez would be my first choice, but I think if you were going to look at Arsenal it's between two players. One would be Gabriel, 3.6. And the other player I like the look of is Zinchenko at 3.6. This is not just recency bias because he got a goal last week. I've watched him the last few games. He's been getting quite far forward. And he looks decent from attacking perspective. So I think he could get some more returns going forwards. So they're probably the two best Arsenal options, with Gabriel coming up for corners, etc.
Yeah.
And Zinchenko's his goals are more likely to be from open play, but he's looking quite dangerous, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. The next one I'll go to Fergie for. Wadey says, would anybody be against looking at Emerson Royale for Trippier when the transfers refresh?
Do you know what? I really like him. So I saw him in the flesh for the first time last week, and I said to my boy at half time who I was with, I said, flipping heck, he can play, can't he? He is so neat and tidy and skillful and attacking, and he was really good. And obviously he got the goal after that as well. So as a player, and particularly for other games, maybe like FPL and things, I would definitely be interested in someone like him. Just looking at their fixtures as they go into March, away to Wolves, they got Milan, and then Forest. They don't have a double in the second week, and they then have Southampton, and then Everton, and then a blank as well. My only thing would probably be that just the other teams just have more fixtures is my only thing really. And knowing Conte, even though Royale has been superb, he will still be, he's not immune to the odd bit of rotation as well. Porro was obviously signed and stuff. So, and I think Tanganga has played the odd game at a right wing back as well. So I don't want to say no, because I think it could be a good pick. He's just not a pick I would go for because the other teams just have more fixtures. Yeah.
If I had said this to you a year ago today, you probably would have laughed in my face, I imagine.
Yeah, do you know, I think Royale is actually in my starting 11 for this season. I actually quite like skillful players. I like good footballers, and he's prone to the odd mistake, as everyone is, right? But I really like him as a player. I do. I really like him. Yeah.
What do you think, Ben? Would you consider that Emerson Royale for Trippier move?
Not for me, no. Like we said again, fixtures. You get more chance of scoring points the more games you have. So I'd definitely be looking at Man United or an Arsenal defender.
Cool.
And putting the money into midfield if you need the money, or up front from Trippier.
He's quite expensive as well. He's 4 million, and now he'll probably rise this week as well. So he could go up to 4.2.
FPL Daniel's been on. What should we do with City defenders? They can't keen to keep a clean sheet to save their lives. Time to dump. Well, I think Fergie's already answered this one. So so let's see. Do you have anything to say on that one, Ben?
No, definitely dump. Like Fergie mentioned before, they've got a single game next week. So it's Newcastle. And then they have Palace, and then Leipzig, West Ham, possible blank if they go out the FA Cup, but I can't see them losing to Bristol City. So, and then they play Liverpool after that, is it? Yep, Liverpool after that. So, and that's a single. So, no, I've been moving across to Arsenal or Man City, Man United, Arsenal and Man United. If you're chasing, put an Arsenal player in.
You do realise it's going to be a cauldron down here in Bristol for when City arrive. The banners have already been put up around Ashton Gate, I see.
Liverpool banners.
Sorry?
Liverpool banners.
The Bristol City firm down here are quite how can I put it? Well, I'm sure they'll give them a warm welcome. Right, moving on. Wadey said, is Mahrez being benched more cause for concern? Foden seems to be upping his game now. Fergie, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a good point with Foden. Thought he played really well yesterday, and Pep talked him up massively after the game. Grealish looks to have that left side sort of nailed, rightly or wrongly, if you think he should. So I think that Mahrez and Foden will probably change the. I think with Mahrez we've seen, he's either gets a 13-pointer or he doesn't play, and he's always been like that, haven't he? He goes. He's so streaky that he's a pretty hard sell. Saying that, there are Arsenal players, Arsenal attackers potentially who you could go for instead. Arsenal mid, if you don't have Saka, for example, I would definitely prefer Saka to Mahrez. Potentially Odegaard as well, and then obviously Martin, I think, is a forward in this game, isn't he? But I do like Arsenal's attacking fixtures this month, and they do have more fixtures than City, so I wouldn't be against it if you wanted to take a gamble. But then if you held, I wouldn't blame you either. I think looking at it, I might take a gamble and I might shift him on just for the volume of fixtures that are the volume and quality of fixtures that Arsenal mids and forwards have got. I'd be tempted to move him on, I think.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Would you? Obviously, Saka's a no-brainer, really. Would you bring in Odegaard for Mahrez? Would that be something you would consider?
Probably, just because looking at the games that they've got. So as it stands, they have 5 games in this March, block. Arsenal have got 6, and because Arsenal are in the Europa as well, they have got slightly easier fixture. They've also got Bournemouth, Fulham, Palace, and Leeds. 3 of those 4 at home in the Premier League as well. So I do prefer their fixtures. So I think Mahrez, out of those 5 games, probably plays 3. I reckon Odegaard probably plays 5 or if not 6 of those 6 potentially. So just for that volume in mind. And it starts right at the start, right? So City homes and Newcastle is going to be a hard game, and then they blank. So I think if you are going to do it, now's the time to do it. When you've got, this first, Arsenal go home to Bournemouth away to Sporting, I would do it now. So I think I would do it. But if you held, couldn't blame you either.
What do you think, Ben? Would you have the cojones for a Mahrez to Odegaard move? What do you think about the situation?
Well, like if you just told me that, say like Man City are playing them first, aren't they, on the next weekend? They said they're playing at 12:30, so we get to see the lineups. If Mahrez isn't in the starting lineup, then I would probably consider the 2 games for Arsenal for Odegaard. But ideally, I don't know, like Mahrez can really hurt you. Like he can just get an 18-pointer in a single game week easily, and then you're like, oh, I need him for next week anyway. So if I see he's not in the lineup, I might be tempted. But at the moment, I'm not thinking about moving him on. But like you say, if there's like a 2, well, it's not a 2 for 0, but it might be a 2 for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could be tempted to an Odegaard or something like that. But
I think also if you look into release funds, because Mahrez is 6 million and Odegaard is 3.4. So look at their points. Mahrez has got 126 points this season. Odegaard's got 109. So they're pretty much of a muchness there. But I think if you really need that money to plug a hole out, if you're stuck with like a crap keeper or an enabler in midfield, for example, that you really want rid of, I think then it would definitely be worth it.
Yeah. What would go on, James?
No, I was going to say that's a very interesting point. I was wondering if you had transfers to burn before Thursday, would you still consider using one of those to do Mahrez to Odegaard? Is that a factor, or would you just burn that transfer and wait for that lineup?
I mean, it probably makes sense to do it, but it's just Mahrez is a beast, and he's just, you can get an 18-pointer. I don't know. It's one of those hard decisions. It's hard you don't know which one's the right one. Odegaard hasn't really been in form lately. He did have a good bit after the World Cup, he was on fire. But he's gone a bit quiet at the minute. But the fixtures are turning. They've got nice games coming up, so he could be getting in the goals.
What was
And
the score with City in Europe last week?
1-1.
It was 1-1. So there is an outside chance he could even go out of Europe as well.
Yeah.
Just another thing to be aware. Because I've got De Bruyne, for example, and at 7.3 million, I don't even like the fact that he didn't start on the weekend. It's just it's crazy. So I think if they go out of Europe, that really opens up opportunities to and there'll be so much money kind of tied up. You probably wouldn't get rid of Haaland, right? Obviously, but other than that, you can really shift on to those teams who've got more games then towards the end of March and going into April.
One of the lads in our Discord, Twed, he sold De Bruyne at the weekend for Foden, so he got the 10-pointer.
What a move!
Yeah,
what a move!
De Bruyne was on the bench, but it might come back to hurt him in his week.
It might do. It might. Yeah.
But because Foden didn't play in the Champions League, did he? First round, first leg, he was on the bench, so that's a tricky one. But it's working out for him so far. But like you say, the two for 0 or whatever, 2 for 20 minutes, whatever. It's definitely a viable option to go for it. Like, what do you think, James? Are you going to go for it? If you've got loads of transfers left, I would imagine.
I have got a few transfers left in most sides. In most of my top sides, I've got 1 or 2 left. It's certainly something I would be considering. I mean, it's good to talk it through on here because I hadn't really thought about it until now, but it could pay off. Certainly with the lack of fixtures with City, the fact that Mahrez might not even play some of those. Something to think of. I think I might do it in 1 or 2 of my sides. I've got 2 sides at the top that are very similar, so it gives me the opportunity to go different in one of them.
I think as well,
just probably do that.
Look at it as an example. So I've got, I mentioned earlier, I've got Rico Lewis, and the reason I've got him is I can't really afford anyone else. If I go Mahrez down to Odegaard, I've got the pick of the defenders in the game then, haven't I, as well? So I think it does. And you've got the extra fixtures, and you've got a guaranteed starter. So I think if you're in that position, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. If it's doing 2 transfers and you're getting double the fixtures, then yeah.
Next question from Lee Hooper. A lot of people have the same front 7 at the moment. Who is going to disrupt that going forward? Ben, what do you think? Who could disrupt that this month to make us want to drop that template to 7?
That's tricky. Well, I mentioned last week Jared Bowen could be one. He's got the fixture count, 7 fixtures this month coming, and he was man of the match at the weekend, wasn't he? Got 10 points. 10 points with an assist. Yeah, he's one that I've been looking at. I don't really think of anybody else at the moment. You're saying Saka, De Bruyne, Mahrez, and Fernandes is the template at the moment.
That's the template, and of the front 3 template would be Kane, Haaland, Rashford. So there's a lot of sides with that template.
Yeah. So Odegaard, Salah, maybe, but they're not far off the template anyway. So yeah, what do you think, Fergie?
Yeah, it's a hard one because on this one especially, there is a template for a reason. We've given all the arguments for maybe getting rid of Man City, maybe not going for Liverpool and things, because United and Arsenal are the form teams with the best players. So potentially Nketiah. I know he was rested. Well, he's been carrying a knock, but he's still like mega cheap. If you're really ballsy, like I don't know what Haaland's points are for the last month, say, but other than his hat trick, after his hat trick, I don't think he's he certainly hasn't been undroppable, has he? So I'm talking risks now, right? If you just want to really be different, I will be dropping Haaland obviously until he gets injured or whatever else, but it's hard to say because it's so strong. I like the Bowen shout. I do like the Bowen shout, and Nketiah is the only other one I can really look at, but other than them, you could maybe try and go for the Man United sort of, the wingers, Anthony and Sancho, maybe, if you go all in on United, if you really think, they got Real Betis, Southampton, and Real Betis, they could score 2 or 3 goals in all those games, and Sancho and Ante are likely to be involved. But I do think it's almost forcing it, and I think there's better opportunities later down the line.
What about Casemiro? come up good again today.
He's got 105 points. It's incredible, isn't it? He's I can't argue. Like for 3.2. Obviously, in fantasy, I prefer a more attacking player, but he's just a wonderful footballer who's getting the points. I mean, you can't. And he joined them late, right? He started with them late as well. He's still got 105 points. Difficult to argue, really, that he's doing fantastically well.
So Tony went a bit different last week or the week before. He brought in Grealish. Grealish has been ticking along, not pulling up any trees, but I think he's to be considered if you're chasing.
Yeah, good shot.
The other one is Luis Diaz for Liverpool. He's back in March. I don't know when in March, but I think he's back in training soon. I would be wary of. Obviously Liverpool haven't looked brilliant going forwards, although we scored some wonderful goals against Newcastle last week. And we do have a pretty nasty end of the month going into April, which is Man City, Chelsea, and Arsenal back to back. But Luis Diaz is one to keep an eye on. I think he could be at some point in the season one of those players to break that. Certainly the midfield template. I don't really see the front line being broken up, to be honest. Not unless someone goes out of Europe, like Fergie said.
If Kane goes out of Europe, maybe, we'll know this week if Kane is going out of Europe.
Yeah.
They're 1-0 down and they're playing this week now. Next week they're playing. So
that Nketiah as well, he does well in the Europa Conference, doesn't he? Oh, sorry, the Europa League. Yeah. And he seems to play. So if Jesus is back, he will play. I know he's not back yet, but when Jesus is back, he probably will get the first choice striker spot. So then Nketiah will definitely play in Europe.
Yeah,
it's like an outsider.
What about my 1 week punt tip, Ben, of Danny Ings, who scored?
Oh yeah,
who I tipped in the Discord this week as a 1 week punt. With Arsenal, with West Ham having 7 fixtures, would you even consider
it? Not for me, but like if you're chasing, maybe if you're really far behind, you've got nothing to lose. I don't see. Exactly. But he's one of them players that's got injury. He's injury prone, isn't he? So I don't know if he'll play 2 games in a week. He'll probably play parts in 2 games. I don't know if he'll start 2 games in a week. He's a bit like Antonio, isn't he? They've got to take turns on the injury table.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go there myself, but I suppose if you were miles behind and you were feeling extra punty, it might be a move that you would consider. Moving on, Daniel Moody. Who are the best 4 midfielders for March? Fergie, I think we sort of covered this one. Who would you be your top 4?
Bruno, Saka, Odegaard, and De Bruyne is just there looking at me. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be tempted just to go for someone else, but they're the obvious 4, I think. I don't know if Ben's got anyone different.
No, pretty much the same. I've got Odegaard as a slash Saka Odegaard. It's pretty much the same as mine. Like I like Bowen as an outside a bet just because of the 7 fixtures. Can't really see anything else. Chelsea's not showing any form.
It's a shame that with Trossard's a striker, because he would have been a really good one to chuck in, because he's going to play minutes every game, but he's a forward, and Martinelli.
That just
wipes them out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no Liverpool midfielders until Diaz is back that you want to be interested in. Spurs, Højbjerg ticks along, but he's a bit boring. Like he might get a few. He gets a few assists on his
He
star mans,
does. He
but
does.
nah.
And Bowen, maybe as you said, is probably a decent shout. 3.8 million, so
Yeah.
he's really well priced, and I think he's a good shout actually.
Cool. We've got a question from Solo Higgins. This is a bit of a rate my team, but considering he's new to the Discord, we'll let this one slide. His question is: got 3 transfers for one team and 2 for another. Both teams are exactly the same, and I'm happy with the team. Should I use my spare transfers at the end of this week to target players that have good fixtures, stroke fixture volume at the start of March, and then return to the team that I've currently got? I don't know if you've had a look at his team. What would you do with that, Ben, if you had 2 or 3 spare transfers left? Oh, I'll read the team out whilst you're thinking about that. So he's got the United block already. He's got De Gea, Martinez, Wan-Bissaka, Shaw. In midfield, he's got Fernandes, Odegaard, Saka, De Bruyne. Up front, Haaland, Rashford, Kane. It's a tricky one, that, isn't it? If 2 transfers in one team and 3 in the other, would you make any moves or would you burn those transfers?
Does he mean that use his transfers to get price rises and then go back to his team with the transfers for next month?
No, I don't think
No.
he means that. He's looking to target maybe the first 1 or 2 fixtures of the month, and maybe move back to the current team at some point. I'm not sure personally whether I would make any moves in that team. I'd be happy to burn those transfers. Having extra transfers around can actually be a negative thing, as I found out today with my with my Wan-Bissaka to Dalot move. What do you think, Ben? What would you do?
Yeah, his team's really good. Well set up for the next month. So, yeah, I'd probably burn them. It's unusual to say that, but yeah.
I take De Bruyne out.
You go for fixture volume, wouldn't you?
I go for, but I'm saying that he's already got all the players I'd want to have him anyway. So I'm not sure who I would take him out for. Maybe like a United or Arsenal defender.
Yeah, I was going to say that maybe. Yeah,
and then you can take your pick. Then just for example, if someone gets injured midweek or whatever else, you can then take that person out and go back to De Bruyne from anyone in the team. Then can't you? So I think I would do that personally, but I tend to be quite aggressive in these sort of circumstances. I thought burning 3 transfers is a bit sick.
Be careful of Varane, because Varane seems to get a lot of rests.
Yeah.
If you do what Fergie said, double up with Dalot maybe, and Wan-Bissaka, because they'll both share minutes. They don't seem to play 90 minutes either. So
Arsenal have got Arsenal home to Bournemouth, and they've got Sporting as well. So Arsenal could be a good team to go for.
The best short-term pick.
10 or 16 points there out of those. I'd be tempted to do that. And if even if De Bruyne scores, it's not the end of the world, right? You could end up getting a clean sheet if De Bruyne blanks home to Newcastle, tightest defence this season. You could actually get a rise and a fall out of them as well. I think it's worth the risk personally, but each to their own in terms of risk appetite.
Yeah, maybe Zinchenko. Got possible attacking returns. Yeah, not like you said, probably the best double out of all the teams for next week. Then you can reassess next week with your 5 transfers. It's tricky because Spurs already have double as well, don't they? So you don't want to take Kane out because Salah only has a single. Yeah, I think it's not much to do. You've all covered it now, haven't you? Really? So, yeah.
Cool. Simple one here. Jimbo's been on. Kane or Salah? Ben?
Well, definitely Kane for next week because they've got a double.
Yeah.
If you're on Kane, stay with Kane. If you're on Salah, that's a different question.
Yeah.
Do you move? We move across to Kane? Probably would for the double.
If you're on
because you got
Salah, go
full
to
of-
Kane. I would.
If I was Salah, I'd go to Kane. Probably.
I would personally. That'd be my head. Just can't get excited about, like, he scored 8 goals in 23 league games or something this season. It's just, I can't remember the last time he scored a brace. Salah?
Who's Salah?
No canoe, yeah. I don't know.
They said on the telly the other day he scored like how many goals he scored this season? He scored a lot of goals, but they're all in like the cups.
19, they said
Yeah.
on the telly. But that's in all competitions, obviously. But, yeah.
He's only
Believe
scored
that,
8 in the
yeah.
Premier League.
Yeah.
And he's facing United, who are, like I say, just massively on the up, and they're away to United, and they blank in the midweek. Just go for Kane, and Kane also has Forest on the Saturday, and look at what West Ham did to Forest on the weekend. I know that Liverpool double, but that double the following week they're away to Real Madrid, who are going to probably give another spanking. Sorry, James.
I can't see us scoring 4 in the Bernabeu.
And if Fulham beat Leeds in the FA Cup, then Liverpool will have a blank
That's right.
before the international break, and Tottenham will either play Tottenham will either play Southampton in the league, or they'll play an FA Cup game if they get through, or they'll blank if they go out and Southampton go through. If you understand that, Kane's probably the best one.
Jimbo, that's a resounding Kane from all three of us. Bezbestos has been on. With the threat of teams being knocked out of Europe, is preserving transfers until later in the month now more important than attacking good fixtures early in the month? And if you could have a full team overhaul for March, what would your best 11 be? So if we start with the first question, I think he's answered it himself almost, but Fergie, anything to add on the first part of that question?
I think the only thing which we haven't mentioned yet, which we probably should, is there's a big international break in the middle of March, isn't there? So the final two games, which is one game week, are going to be part of the March fixtures. So I think with that in mind, it's definitely worth holding some back if we can, because there may be some injuries over the international break or something like that, which you can kind of jump on early. I also think, it looks like Liverpool are going out of Europe, as he said. Chelsea could potentially be going out of Europe. Man City, outside chance, but they might go out of Europe. And we'll learn more about the FA Cup, learn more about the double game weeks, and we'll learn more about Man United, Arsenal, and West Ham's progression and fixtures as well. So I think for all our sorts of teams, to answer the second question, the team we just had up a minute ago is probably the best team, which I can sing. But if you're set up with lots of United players, a couple of Arsenal, a couple of City, I don't see any point really in like I'll move Mahrez. I'll potentially move Mahrez, as I say, Enrico Lewis to Odegaard and an Arsenal defender, just as an example.
Yeah.
But other than that, apart from injury, I wouldn't see any need to make any more transfers until after the international break, because United, Arsenal, and City just play constantly until then. So I don't know if that answers it.
Yeah, very
Ben,
good point.
anything to add on that one?
No, very good points made. Like I said, after the international break, there's 12 teams doubling. They've got Premier League matches rearranged. So there'll be a few doubles in there for pits. Like at the end of the month, Spurs don't have a double, Man City don't have a double. So there'll be opportunities to jump across to another striker there or a midfielder. I think you pretty much covered it. Like, obviously, you get to find out who goes through in the FA Cup this week, and we get to see the second legs. Next week is the last. Next week is the last second leg of the Champions League and the Europa League. No, Champions League. Sorry.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not planning on making hardly any transfers at the beginning of next month. Let's see what happens. I'm mainly on United blocks anyway, so I don't see any urgent need. And it's best to wait to see who goes through in the European competitions. Yeah.
if you're going to jump on anyone, Arsenal's safer because they're guaranteed 2 more European games.
Yeah.
And like West Ham have got 2 guaranteed European games, but
And
beware
also
of the. Sorry, I was just going to say, beware of the ratings on the Who Scored of the Europa Conference League. They're a bit dodgy, aren't they?
They are, which is annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So unless a player's definitely going to get star man, they probably won't get a 7 rating.
Yeah. I think I'd just add on as well. I think Man United's game against Brighton. I can't remember Brighton. Arsenal definitely have that game against Palace is definitely on, whereas the other one might be off, might be replaced with an FA Cup game. Just something to be aware of. But that's kind of right at the end of the month.
Yeah, because Brighton and Man U are both in the FA Cup still, so
they would both need to be. Well, either way, they're gonna have a fixture, I think, aren't they?
Yeah. If they both go through, yeah.
Cool. Final question from Dream Team Patrick. Who do you feel could be the best enablers for March? Patrick's obviously scratching around for enablers because what he usually does is to use a green arrow term. He spaffs all of his transfers at the beginning of the month, which means he can't get on any rises or any drops. So have you got any best enablers for March that you haven't already mentioned?
Saliba, 2.7 million. He's quite cheap.
So cheap.
Like Bowen, I like Bowen, but I don't know if you've already got the decent midfield. I don't know what team you've got, Patrick, but Bowen is definitely in my mind just because of the fixtures. Can you think of any, Fergie?
I just haven't looked down the list. I think we've mentioned most of them. Solly March for Brighton is quite cheap, 3.4. Brighton do run into a lot of double game weeks and stuff soon, but say it's probably forcing it a little bit.
He's
Casemiro 3.2.
Sorry, he's been banging the drum for a double Brighton midfield for about a month. Patrick has in the Discord. He wanted to go Mitoma and March for the start of last month. When we all talked him out of it because of the fixture count.
I think Ivan Toney, he's not an enabler, but at 5.8, he could be an interesting differential pick towards the back end of the month. And then they've got lots of really, really nice league fixtures. He's got 133 points this season, which is pretty insane, actually. It's more than like Luke Shaw and Pope, and more than Mahrez, more than Saka.
Yeah.
He's a really good pick, I think.
Yeah. The only thing with Tony is you've got to be careful because if Leicester beat Blackburn, they play Leicester in the FA Cup week of the quarterfinal, and then they'll have a blank.
And he could also get banned
Yeah.
for betting, and he could also get banned if he's on 8 yellows. Yeah. Martinelli is 3.4. If you're just looking for a differential, maybe Ollie Watkins is 4.5. He's been playing well. Villa have really good fixtures.
He's got 5 in 5, hasn't he?
Yeah. Bowen 3.8, as you said. Lots of, like Alvarez is still 3.5. So the moment Haaland gets injured, Alvarez 3.5 is going to be be good.
What about Spurs defenders? He was talking about that as well.
It's just I can't get excited about him, to be honest. I just don't think they've got the fixture volume. Even though they've kept back-to-back clean sheets now in the league at home, I'm still not massively convinced Fraser Forster is going to be in goals for the next few weeks as well. I just think it's better option. You can go for these players, but I just think, like, why would you overlook Arsenal and Man United? If you don't want to go for Man United because everyone else is, go for Arsenal, would be my answer there. But, if you want to go for Spurs, go for Spurs, but they just haven't got the fixture volume, and their defence isn't the best, so I just don't see why we would.
Yeah, I agree. Arsenal's safer differential.
Yeah, agree.
Cool. Well, that wraps up the list of questions. On to the mini leagues. The Dream Team Tonic Cash League. In 10th, we have Lee Watson. 9th, Ben Lee.
Get in.
8th, Tom Brindley. 7th, Dan Bartlam. 6th, Stephen Williams. Fifth, Andy Allett. Fourth, Tom Brinley again. Third, Andy Allett again. Second, Simon Davis. And still at the top with a fairly healthy 31-point lead is Anthony Sutcliffe.
Well done. Still there.
Finally.
Ben, would you like to do the honours of the
Patron.
DT, the Patron League?
Yep. In 10th place, Anthony Sutcliffe. He's everywhere. 9th place, Aman Tatler. 8th place, Nicholas Stepham. 7th place, Wayne Foster Crouch. 6th place, Tom Brinley. 5th place, Stephen Broughton. 4th place, Jake Bevan. 3rd, Mark McKee. 2nd, John Mellier. And 1st, Lee Utting.
Cool. Fergie, would you mind doing the honours for the Second Chance Tonic Cash League?
Absolutely. In 10th place, Ollie's at the wheel, Lee Hooper. 9th place, Yorkshire Tea, Stephen Holt. 8th, big at the back, Mr. Fricker himself.
Yes, come on.
Good work. Joint 6th, Big Bang Theory head-to-head, Phil Russo. And also Dream Team Tonic Patreon Cup team, James Fricker again, flying. 5th, these are long team names.
Yeah.
Whoa, Black Betty, Obama Yang, Phil Russo, I like that one. 4th, Tony's Tonic, Anthony Sutcliffe. 3rd, ACDC 11, shorter name there, nice one, Ben. That's Ben Lee, good work. And then 2nd and 1st, God, your names are everywhere, guys, an absolute joke. 2nd, Have Your Tonic, Tony Sutcliffe. And top, just for a change, Dream Team Tonic Podcast, Tony Sutcliffe with 638 points. Very,
Flying.
very well played, gentlemen.
Still in the top 10 overall as well.
8th, I had a look earlier, he's flying and he's doing really
brilliant.
well. Got a good team. He
Yeah,
brought Grealish
brilliant.
in as well, didn't he, in that team? It was
Yeah.
quite interesting.
I meant to say to Fergie, on your Sky podcast, I've noticed you've stopped reading out the top 10 of your mini league. I think I might be in that as well.
Are you? I don't know. You have to start that now, I think. Yeah. We tend to do it towards the end of the season, but
Yeah.
need to do that. The members league, we'll do that as well. I'm above you in that one, so I'll definitely read that one out for that.
What are you now? I haven't checked since yesterday. I was 90 something yesterday.
32nd.
32nd.
And Paul McNulty's 5th and 14th. So
fantastic, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just keeps getting up. He keeps sneaking up, then here every week. He's doing brilliant.
He's such a good player. It's I hope he doesn't listen to this, but I would say I think he's the best all-round fantasy player. I know, he's just unbelievable. He just thinks of things at different levels to everyone else, and he'll text me and say, "What do you think about this?" And I'm like, I would never have thought of that. Like, he just thinks of things in different ways. He's very good.
I'm 80th now in Sky.
Good work. Good work. Flying. There's a lot of content creators in the top sort of 100 or 2. It's going to be a hell of a race.
Yeah.
It's going to be brilliant.
Cool. Well, thanks, chaps. Make sure, I just want to say to our listeners, make sure you join us next week for a very special episode. It's our 100th episode, and we've got some surprises lined up, and some very special guests will be joining us. So please do make sure you tune in next week. Thanks for joining us, Fergie.
Thank you, guys. Really, really enjoyed. Good stuff, and best of luck to you and your listeners for the month.
Thanks, Fergie. Thanks for the questions, everyone.
Good night, chaps.
Good night.
Night.